Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, Unit Z, and today we're gonna be talking about Rwby, Ice Queendom, or Ice Queen. What did I think about this? Well, not bad. Not bad at all. Definitely did not hate it, but let's just say I am rather disappointed because it didn't lean into either side. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, what I mean by this is the simple fact that this could have just been a recap of the first season with extended epilogues and or not epilogues. It could have been had extended trailer content, and you even see there are little changes that they make which honestly don't affect the plot too much, and it seems like they're trying to do their own thing. But I wouldn't have necessarily done that. If I were personally making this, I would have Rwby Ice Queendom be a recap of the first two arcs, or not, the first two volumes of Rwby. To put into perspective, the first three episodes came out on Crunchyroll and Rooster Teeth recently. And guess how much they covered? The entire first volume. They crammed an hour and 52 minutes of volume 1 down into 1 hour. They cut out 52 minutes of content. And that's not even including things like the red, black, and yellow trailer, which were also added. And some scenes were honestly changed for the better. Like, John did not recognize. They made John and Pyrrha's connection seem more healthy, if that's the right term for it. Like in this one, they have a nice little bonding session over John talking about, how he was never really a fan of the serial that Pyrrha stars in, and that's why he doesn't recognize her. And she starts talking about how, oh yeah, she didn't like it either. Well, that's because it wasn't good for you. And, it was a cute little moment like that. And he also didn't come across as too forceful to try to talk to Weiss. Something that was kind of sad to see, though, is John's arc was completely just thrown out of existence and no one cares about it. Then it really doesn't feel like Rwby and John are super close friends. Like, to put into perspective, if I were to ask most of the Rwby fandom, I think most of them would agree that Rwby and John are probably the closest, people who are not on the same team. I honestly think Rwby is closer to John than she is to Blake or even Weiss. Because that's just how much they interact and how much their friendship is just part of the show. Now, compare that to this, where I don't think they have a single line of dialogue that they're exchanging in a fun, cute little way. Like in the original when John was making jokes about her being Crater Face. And just little scenes like that. And they also added a new character who's a witch, based off a witch, whatever. Not my cup of tea. But it's hopefully going to lead into something else. And as far as the visual goes, that's why I was thinking this was going to be a recap of the first and first season at least. And that was because, well, look at all these great visuals. Then you compare that to volume 1. And here's the thing. I've met some people, there are some people in my friend group who straight up, haven't gotten into Rwby too much. Either because they were, watching the Japanese dub because they are not too bright, or they thought it looked really, really bad. And granted, when I first watched Rwby, I felt the exact same way. I thought it was a YouTube series made by just passionate people, not an official studio. Although considering how RT handles most situations, they might as well be a bunch of no, because that implies they have a lot of passion. Anywho, enough of me being an angry Rwby fan. There's enough of those on the internet. This looks stunning. Like, oh my goodness, when Rwby Ice Queendom decides, hey, we need to bust out the Sakuga, guess what? They bring it. And it is fantastic. I am so happy that I got to see that Evermore, or not, the Grim Cliff battle in a different light with stellar animation. However, the problem is they also had to, due to the cutting of content, they had to cut down that fight significantly and make it not as impressive, which sucks because honestly, that's probably the highlight of Volume 1. Like, I consider that the best of Volume 1, even more so than the Penny versus, guard fight. And also, they skipped that in recapping this stuff, although it does lead to a pretty funny shot where you see this, like, burnt down helicopter and there are people yelling and screaming, and Penny's just walking towards Rwby. And I get it, that's kind of the point, it's supposed to contrast, but I don't necessarily know how it's going to be handled. Also, another thing, it is very hard to tell if it's still going to continue recapping, because it feels like now that they've covered Volume 1, they're instantly just going to shoot out and go, okay, we covered it, people who know, now we can just cover a side story that we want to tell, goodbye. Or they might cover events of Volume 2 and 3. Granted, I would not like to see Volume 2 and 3 condensed. However, if they pull it off, and obviously this is the first 3 episodes, which granted, people do like using the rule of 3, for example, Glass Reflection, all those people. And don't get me wrong, I understand the rule of 3 100%, but to be fair, I'm also stuck in this for life. So I gotta go for more than 3 episodes. And I'm holding out hope that it will improve. I do think it will improve though, especially since the animation was good in the first 3 episodes, not just the pilot episode. Normally they spend more time on the pilot episode because first impressions are the most important, but I didn't really notice a major step down in quality between episodes 2 and 3. So that obviously means it's going to look nice, and as we all know, as long as a show looks nice, people will flock towards it anyway. And definitely not referencing any other shonen battle manga that is currently airing soon, especially its 3rd arc. Anywho, I will see you guys later. I'm gonna give this so far a 6 out of 10. So exactly not super fantastic, but not horrible. But let me know what you thought. Alright, later.